Why so many men feel replaceable right now. Most men won't say this out loud, but they feel it. At work, in dating, even in their own homes. Like if they disappeared tomorrow, someone would fill the space by Monday. That's the quiet fear, not failure. Replacement. The shift no one prepared you for. For most of history, a man's value was obvious. He built, he provided, he protected. His role wasn't debated, it was assumed. Now, automation replaces skills, corporations replace loyalty, dating apps replace connection, social media replaces depth with visibility, and suddenly value feels temporary. You can do everything right and still feel optional. That psychological shift is brutal, because men are wired to anchor identity to usefulness. When usefulness feels uncertain, identity shakes. The invisible competition. You're not just competing with other men anymore, you're competing with algorithms, global talent pools, perfectly curated Instagram lives, hundreds of dating options a swipe away. Even if you're solid, disciplined, emotionally stable, there's always someone flashier, richer, more extreme, more novel. And novelty wins short-term attention. So the stable man starts to question himself, not because he's weak, because the marketplace rewards stimulation over steadiness. This is the same dynamic explored in 7 Brutal Truths about why women choose chaos. Stability often feels invisible in a culture addicted to dopamine, and invisible easily becomes replaceable. The approval trap. Here's where it turns inward. When a man feels replaceable, he compensates. He becomes more agreeable, more accommodating, less direct, less polarizing. He tries to secure his position through performance, but performance energy doesn't create respect. It signals insecurity, and insecurity confirms the very thing he fears. If you're subtly asking to be kept, you'll be treated as temporary. That's the paradox. The workplace illusion loyalty used to mean something. Now companies restructure quarterly. You can outperform expectations for years and still get replaced by a cheaper hire or a software update. That doesn't just affect your income, it affects your sense of solidity. Men tie worth to contribution. When contribution feels disposable, it creates quiet existential anxiety. You won't say, "I feel replaceable." You'll say, "I just feel off." But underneath that is instability. Dating amplifies. Dating is where the feeling becomes personal. If she has 200 matches, you don't feel like a man she chose. You feel like an option she filtered. If she pulls back, you don't just feel disappointed. You feel interchangeable. And most men respond by leaning in harder. More texts, more availability, more reassurance, which lowers perceived value further. As outlined in The Boundary Playbook for Men, weak boundaries don't create connection. They dissolve presence, and dissolved presence feels easy to replace. The identity erosion. The deeper issue isn't women, it isn't corporations, it isn't technology. It's that many men outsource their identity to roles that no longer guarantee security. Provider, boyfriend, employee, husband. When those roles feel unstable, so does the man. And if you don't have a core that exists outside those positions, you start negotiating from fear. Fear makes you smaller. Smaller feels replaceable. The quiet cost. A man who feels replaceable doesn't push back, doesn't state preferences, avoids conflict, accepts low effort, hesitates to leave. He tries to be safe instead of strong. And the irony? The safer he tries to be, the less solid he feels. Because deep down he knows he's adapting to avoid loss, not leading from conviction. The reframe. Most men resist. You're not replaceable. Your positioning is. If your value depends on being chosen, approved, or needed, it's conditional. Conditional value can always be swapped, but grounded identity isn't. This is the principle at the center of the honest masculine code. Never hand your power away, not to women, not to bosses, not to the world. When your worth is internal, replacement loses its sting, because you're not competing to be kept. You're deciding where you invest yourself, why it feels so heavy right now. We live in a high-option culture. Choice exploded, commitment weakened, visibility increased, depth decreased. In that environment, men who haven't anchored internally feel exposed. But this isn't a crisis of masculinity. It's a crisis of misplaced identity. If your center is external, you'll always feel like you're one bad quarter, one better match, or one emotional shift away from being swapped out. If your center is internal, you become selective. And selective men don't feel replaceable. They feel sovereign. The line that changes everything. Most men don't feel replaceable because they lack value. They feel replaceable because they built their value in systems that don't reward loyalty anymore. Stop trying to be indispensable to unstable systems. Become anchored enough that you can walk away. Replaceable men cling. Grounded men choose. And that difference is everything.